So the people of Union are leaving, and outsiders like me are coming in. I don't necessarily want to change Union, but I know Union needs to grow in certain ways so that the people here don't have to leave.
Right. And I was looking at my internet. These storms coming through here is kind of affecting a little bit, but we're still okay. And I think some of the concerns were too, I know the Sheriff's Department is constantly wanting to hire people. The detention centers, of course.
Yeah.
And with more growth that we're going to have, say 400 housing there, you're figuring 2, 3, 4 people dwelling there. That's a lot of people coming in at one time. And you got to have the structure as far as the police department even. You know, you've got to handle that many people, because, you know, not all of them are going to be real good people coming in. Unfortunately, I wish it was. I wish it was a perfect world like that. We've got rampant drugs going on here, and few resources, you know, and that's, we get backed up, like you talk about, in detention centers. We're having to spend a lot of money to build onto there to house. And our courts are here in Union. It's almost like, well, they're the stepchild in one sense to kind of, we'll do these other ones in other counties. Like I know we got York County, once the solicitor takes care of York County and Union County. Yeah. And used to be, they didn't have to come to Union that much because there wasn't that much crime. But it's really increased a lot over the years. And now I think, personally, I think they need a solicitor here in Union and also one in York, instead of having one for both counties now. I think that we've gone past that.
Well, I would certainly think that's ideal. Now, unfortunately, we have what we have.
Exactly.
I would also rather have one that could be focused solely on Union, and that really, that's like we have 3 senators representing Union. It would be nice if we just had one.
Right.
You know, because we're a small county, to be split between 3 different senators who have larger areas like Greenville and Spartanburg to be concerned with. They don't spend a lot of time thinking about us. That's why we're on the bottom of the list on a lot of things down there in Columbia, because no one really cares about us. So we got to kind of take care of ourselves a lot of times. And that's where, when it comes to crime, you know, there's some things that we have to do for ourselves, and there's some things that we have to get the police to help us with. And I lived on the edge of Hanahan, so close to North Charleston, which is Charleston County. We could spit and land it in Charleston County. I used to watch, once a week, I used to watch these guys come in as a SWAT team and bust down doors and arrest people. And the people of the area have been complaining for years. And the only reason that everyone locally said that they were doing it is because the value of the property was so much that they were wanting to please the investors by getting rid of some of these people. But honestly, I mean, there were drugs everywhere. And we were quite happy when they finally, but we were helping the police on this too. Because there's a lot of things that they need witnesses for. When crimes are committed, it helps to have witnesses when they go to court. But a lot of people don't want to witness anything.
No, people don't want to get involved.
No.
It's almost like they want to turn head. But you know, to me, it's like, how can you get by with anything now because everybody's got cameras. Yeah. I've got them all around my house here. We got them on our phones. They're everywhere. And I don't see how that anyone can get away from anything because somebody's going to see you. Right. And somebody knows something, because I know from the fact that a lot of these criminals and ones, they're going to tell somebody. They're going to brag what they did, because if they did it and never said a word, I can see, well, yeah, they got by with that right there. But they want to kind of brag in a sense that, you know, yeah, I done this, I got by with this. So somebody knows something. We've got a lot of cases here in Union County that cold cases, and got some that would be freed up real quickly if someone would have talked.
And see, that's where we have a critical function when it comes to criminal justice, because who wants to bring a business to Buffalo or Lockhart or Jonesville or Union or Carlisle if they're going to turn around and people stealing their equipment from their factory or their business, whatever it may be. So one, you need a workforce that can capably work for you, but you also need the criminal element to have enough fear to stay in the background or go away completely. But we'd prefer that. But, you know, so there's a lot of reasons why people turn to crime, but what we need to do is try to remove those reasons.
Right.
And so if we're providing good jobs, maybe people won't be trying to go in and, you know, steal something from the store shelves. If we have good jobs, maybe people will be occupied and say, I'd rather be off working than getting hunted down by the police for dealing drugs or whatever. That's what I'd like to hope.
Right.
Some things, some people, they're not going to ever change. And those are people that usually you want to see them end up in jail because they're not going to change and they're going to keep being a problem for everybody. That's the people with the laundry list, as long as my arm, of convictions or charges or whatever.
Right. It's like a revolving door.
Right.
And, you know, our police officer gets frustrated with it because, you know, the courts goes through, they're the one sentence them, and it's got to be something there because we see it so many times to where this guy said, "Oh, I thought he was in jail. I thought he was in prison. Oh, he's done this over and over and over and over again." Now, I'm all for rehabilitation.
Sure.
And to me, what are we doing to rehabilitate versus house? Are we offering some counseling, educational things to change their mind of thinking that this is the way of life, is to take or to steal or to do drugs or sell drugs? Well, I can make so much money, but if you kind of divvy it out a little bit and you find out that you're probably making $1 an hour if you figure up your jail time or prison time. And I've heard actually the guy tell me, he says, well, I can do it different now. So how are you going to do it any different? Well, this guy over here told me that it. And I said, well, isn't he in jail too? Yes. Think.
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
It didn't work for him. He's in jail too.
Right.
So
now what are some of the things that you're that the platform that you're going to build your candidacy on? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so one of the things I'm a big proponent of is bringing manufacturing, because production is how you build wealth. So either you have a natural resource, like in West Virginia they had coal. Coal made them money for a long time. People driving coal trucks, people working in the coal mines, that was big money. And you could go to North Dakota, they're doing fracking. Up there, even 10 years ago, you couldn't get a McDonald's burger for less than $50 because they couldn't afford to hire anybody because everyone wanted to work on the oil rigs. So, you know, we don't want that bad. But what I'm saying is there's productive work that can produce money. And that's where, you know, they sell that oil all over the country, across the world, and that money comes back to the workers who make that big money working there. Now, I don't think we have a whole lot of natural resources here, except maybe the farmers, and certainly need to retain that because people need to eat. And that's a whole thing that I've seen thousands of acres in Spartanburg disappear. But if we're careful in selecting the kind of factories and manufacturing that we bring here, and we fit it to what Union can provide, we could bring some pretty good jobs that pay pretty good money. You know, not we don't want too many small time things. We want people that can employ like 200 people at a time, various industries across the spectrum, because if they're all in one industry and that sector of industry suffers because of a recession in that industry, well then we might get a bunch of layoffs and that could hurt Union. But if we have automotive industry and textile industry and maybe some food industry, you know, just some variable things, and we set that up to where we have a lot of good jobs, one that helps keep our youth here as they graduate high school because they've got jobs, that helps build the community. And that's one of my big things, is we need to retain our community. Because as our youth leave us, eventually what you have is a whole lot of really young people and a lot of really old people, and everyone that's in the middle are people like me that moved here.
Right.
And that's how you start losing your community and its character.
Well, I know that a good win for us was MicroWorks.
Yeah.
Was a good win, but we really actually got our education here if people would take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the good resources we have is at Spartanburg Tech right here on 176 to revamp or do something there that's going to help in these industries. Welding, there's not enough, to me, welding jobs around. And if that's the only thing they've got in there right now, because I know they have some robotics in there used to.
They did at one time, yeah.
And so we need to get with maybe some of these plants around here that's doing well. What can they do to get you some qualified employees that's going to learn the skills that you have here that you need, and you're going to pay good for that skills because you're not having to train them. You're not they're coming in as an asset to you.
And see, that's one where we really need to understand what education needs to be. I've known a lot of people from other places that their high school provided different kind of training, just basic elementary level stuff for electricians or plumbers or what have you. And then some of them go on to the community college and they get furtherance on that. But I think a lot of it is people don't understand there's money in it. I mean, in my industry, I'm almost always the youngest guy in the shop, and I'm 42 years old. The guys I work with are in their 60s, and they'll be retired soon. And who's going to be working with me? So there's only 2 guys coming in for every 5 guys retiring every year. What that does is it tightens the market for the employees, which means the rate of value goes up. A little story. I know a guy who lives in Texas. He started in the Navy with him. One of his neighbors, the guy owns I think it's probably a $400,000 house now. The guy's a garbage truck driver. But they pay him $130,000 a year, at least they did 6 years ago. $130,000 a year to drive a garbage truck. He says, hey, I don't have to live in squalor just because I move trash around, And you think about it, no one wanted to do it, so they kept jacking up the pay.
Yeah.
So the same is true of the skilled trades. No one's wanting to do it, so our value keeps going up.
Well, I know that I used John the plumber actually the other day as an example that in the plumbing business he's offering a school that will teach and they'll get paid for it and teach them the skills of a plumber because no one wants to do it, and we know we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need guys that haul your garbage off. We need these things, and that skill is going away, and because everybody thinks that if they get into computers and ITs and get into these higher paying jobs that's got these type of skills, it's going to be so flooded that you're not going to be able to get in.
Well, I think a lot of people are also have a misunderstanding of how even college works. I make more money than a lot of college-educated people, and I've had a lot of training, grant you, from the Navy and other places as well. I went to some community college education as well after the Navy, but being in the trades, like I said, there's a lot of value in it. I mean, even though it is hot, sweaty work sometimes, not everyone can operate a computer the same way. Not everyone has that same skill.
Right.
And believe it or not, there's some people that I've seen with incredible skill in the trades. And the thing is, ultimately, people are missing out. And they're missing their calling. And if you look, there's a lot of people that I think they're being convinced, go to college and you'll make a bunch of money and all this, but one, can you afford college? Because I didn't go to college because I realized I couldn't afford it. That's why I joined the Navy. I said I'd have to borrow money to go to college. And the second thing is, like I said, in my family at one time, I was the second highest paid person in my family. I have 4 brothers with college degrees. One went to Clemson, he's got a chemical engineering degree, and he's like, I make $55,000 a year, and I'm like, I make more money than that. And he's a manager, and I'm just a regular Joe Schmo who works pulling wrenches.
Well, I found out one thing about being a manager, and I was one, and that your own salary. and you're on salary like that, and you're working actually a lot of times more hours. If you divide that in there, you'll find out that, oh, wait a minute, something's wrong here. And then you changed positions, and you figured out that, wow, I'm making more money than working less, because you're not into management. And imagine some college, they need to have the skills of doctors and nurses, but they need to look at those paying jobs that needs the education, with which I want someone that's going to perform surgery on me have more than a high school diploma.
And I grant you that. But at the same time, how many engineers do we need in union?
Yeah.
And that's also a thought we need to consider, because like I said, a lot of people want to go out there and they want to make their fortune and they want to have all these things. And I learned a long time ago, I'm content with what I have. You know, I'm not wanting for anything. I've got food on my table, clothes on my back, and a roof over my head. I'm good. And I'm not the kind of person that wants to go out clubbing. I don't want to, never have been really. And, you know, a lot of people, they want that scene, but they don't realize that, like, they're frittering things away. And I think there's a lot of things that I don't know where they get it from. Maybe it's TV, movies, I don't know. Maybe it's somebody they know. Maybe it's the internet, I don't know. But they think that that's the path they need to take. And
well, I think a lot of times the social media, TV, influencers sends the wrong signal that you can be an influencer and I can make all this money, but if you deep dive in some of them influencers and they showing all this great stuff, it's not theirs. You know, and they really not having the responsibility of keeping a house up or this. Now, mind you, some maybe do, but most of them not. And I think with the advertisements for even that they have on TV that's showing, well, if you get this product here, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be better off. You know, and we know that's not so. But I think that with social media being as more of an influence of anything, it gives people a wrong idea. Myself, I wish I'd known now that I need to save up more for retirement. I needed to do this and that right there to cushion myself when that day comes that, hey, I don't have to keep working until I'm 90. Or something like that, you know, or to depend on the government to keep me up.
Right.
And we know how generous they are when it comes to that.
and that's the thing, is a lot of people, you know, there's people, well, not a lot of people, but there are people out there that think that, you know, the government will just take care of everything. And, you know, I was brought up, my parents brought us up to be very independent people. They don't want us to be out there dependent on that stuff. But even still, like, when I was getting ready to graduate, I was talking with my parents about, like, what I'm going to do. And I said, well, I don't want all this debt. And they're like, good. You should not want debt. Debt is bad. They tell everyone to, oh, just borrow this and pay it back later. My parents were like, no, if you don't have to. They said, so my parents were like, well, join the military. Military does training. If you join the Army, they'll give you certain training. You join the Navy, they'll give you certain kinds of training.
Right.
There's opportunities there if you can't afford to go. Now, they've since done things where you can earn, I forget what it's called, but it's a thing when you graduate high school, as long as you get
GED.
You know, and then you can go to community college for basically for free or whatever, and you can get Pell Grants and stuff. So like, there's a lot. It's basically you can go to technical school basically for free, and there's a lot of opportunity there. I think there's a lot of people that work in Spartanburg, and you see an exodus every morning. People going to Spartanburg en masse. If we had the right kind of factories here that could suit their skill sets, I think a lot of them would work here, because when it comes down to it, they're wearing out their car, which cars are getting more expensive. They have to buy all that gas. Gas is getting more expensive. Right. Brakes, tires, all that maintenance, insurance. But if they could just drive 2 miles down the road, I think they'd be happier. And back in the old mill days, it was more like that, I believe.
Exactly. I have a nephew that moved from North Carolina to Virginia. He got a promotion and more money, but he's realizing now that the more money now that where he lives at, the cost to live there is like almost double from what he moved from. So he's really not gaining anything by moving there. And a lot of people forget about that. So, well, all I got to do is drive down to here to Greenville. All I have to do is drive to Spartanburg, but you're talking Spartanburg back 60-some miles every single day.
Yep.
And the wear tear on your car, like you said, you have to buy tires eventually. You have to have some maintenance done. Where here, you'd almost get your electric car and run to work. Run to work.
Or a bicycle, depending where you are.
Yes. So, and you're talking about financial institutes where they send out, especially when it gets near a holiday, they send out these live checks. They said, well, it's great. I have a live check here. I'll just go ahead and cash it. But they look on the back, and I've seen it anywhere from 79 to 170% interest for that live check. And it's only money for a short time, and it's just like big business, like county. You got so much money, and you say, well, I can borrow you this right here, but what are you paying back, or what are you asking to pay back? And I think that's what people need to look and hold the county council to that, saying, look, this is my tax dollar, this is my money that I'm giving here, having to give, and I need someone's going to watch over my money.
And that's important. And in that fashion, I take the stance of my taxes are like a purchase. I expect services to be rendered. And I think that's because I've talked to people about roads, and there's people out there that are upset about the roads, and it's like, well, they've paid their gas tax. They deserve to have good roads because that's what they've paid for. They pay the school tax. They expect the schools to educate their children well. And I'm not going to go one way or the other in that. That's, they can decide for themselves if they think that's right or not. I'm going for county council, not school board.
Exactly.
But every dollar needs to be carefully spent with consideration for the people who have offered that money to the council. Because the council, if they're flippant with that money, people get upset. And we need to make sure that the dollars are spent properly to provide whatever it is that has been promised to them from the government. And this is one of the things that has really upset me in the beginning. Like I said, they raised the tax, but they still weren't even providing all the services that they should have been, or at least not up to the standards I would like to see it done.
But I think people get confused as far as the roads go, which is county, which is state maintained. I think because a lot of times they get confused and ask that. I've heard them ask that question. They really need to, if they want to be informed, well, they need to find their county council person to tell them which is which. If that's their, hey, is this road here, is it considered county? Is this considered the state? And a lot of times they have it marked, a lot of times it's not. The roads, like you give the tax on gasoline, and I know taxes are more on gasoline on the road tax in North Carolina, but they use that for the roads, and you can tell the world difference between just these two states.
Well, and that's where, again, like Union County's dead last in Columbia. Last year, we were the last county. There were counties with 1/3 our population getting more roads fixed than us. And if you look at this year, we got the same amount we got last year, which means we're probably dead last again. And we've got counties with 9,000 people in them, and we've got 28,000 people driving up and down these roads. And the tourists, as they keep telling us, all these tourists keep coming in here, and they're driving up and down our roads, wearing them out. And where's our money to fix them? And you would think proportionally, we have a higher population than some of these other counties, we would get a little bit more money. So there's things from the state that we could certainly ask for, but there's also some of those monies that they're supposed to give us that we are supposed to use to fix both state and county roads. And we need to see if we can't get a little more chunk of that. And that's something we can certainly petition for along the way.
Now, I know using the last county council meeting, or the one before that, even there was mention about a spec building. And I know the reason for a spec building, and it's good. We built one from Micro Works, and that worked out good there. We got that building in Jonesville up there, the Belk building, and it's a big warehouse building, just sitting.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if anything's being done to, and it'd probably be the another group there to look into that about the building there. is there a manufacturer looking at that? Because, you know, it's closer to Spartanburg, and of course, it's in Union County.
I mean, my understanding is they're looking for someone to make a deal with to try to take up that building. But I think that should be high on the priority list. I mean, we've got a lot of things going on, but that's an opportunity because of their proximity to Spartanburg that you would think there would be a business that would want to move into that. And I think that's why we need to review with the Planning Commission and the Development Board and sit down and have a good discussion like, okay, what are we going to do? What kind of people do we want to attract? How can we attract them? And how do we plan to retain them? So that way when they come, if you know, they want to stay. Mm-hmm. And because a company that stays will invest in the community. That's what we want.
Right.
Because if they invest in the community, they might help out the fire stations. You know, they might make donations to them, or they might help some of the local charities. And these things help the community. Because if they get a large number of workers to come in there, you know, then they want to keep their workers happy, and they're happy with where they are and they want to stay. Then we need to, you know, find those kind of employers.
Right.
And so that should be a higher on the priority list. Jobs, because like I said, some of these factories are shutting down, some of them are cutting back on workers, and so we need to see if we can't find someone to spread out some new jobs so we can keep people well employed.
Yeah. Well, we're running out of time. Don't you go by quickly?
Yeah.
And you did a great job explaining your platform and what you kind of believe in and look at. And I think that's a good platform, and I hope you have a good luck this coming Tuesday. But what main thing people got to do is get out and vote, right?
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Because usually, you know yourself, it's a time where people, oh, it's just this little runoff here. We don't need to vote on that, but they need to vote. And if they're really concerned about their county or their district, because you're in District 6, tell people where District 6 covers. That's one thing we need to do.
So it's basically on North Main Street all the way down to Arthur Street and the Galaxy, down towards the Galaxy. And then if you shoot straight north from there, you come up and around, you hit the Bornado Road and Seigler Road. Mm-hmm. And then if you keep going around, you hit the Tony Road. That's all the northern boundary. And then you come down the Meansville Road from Tony Road. You come down Meansville towards the Walmart. Then you go down Buffalo Highway towards Buffalo, down 215. And it goes down the ways just about to the post office in Lukesville. And Robertson right in there. And then it swings back around down Rice and over towards where the Timken complex is, and then straight down Industrial towards the post office down that direction.
That's a big area.
It's kind of well, it seems big, but it's the city, so it's kind of dense. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rodger, I appreciate you coming on, and we're talking about your campaign, and voting time's coming up next Tuesday. So everyone, please go out and vote, and good luck to you, Rodger.
Well, thank you.
You're a very knowledgeable person, and I would enjoy sitting here and talk to you even from your going back to your service days. And thank you for your service.
Oh, appreciate it, and thank you for letting me serve.
All right, folks, you've heard it, and you can always go back and listen. And you know, if you see something to clear up, you want to ask Rodger, I'm sure that you can find him on Facebook very easily. And or you probably don't have to find anybody around that know who he is. Well, I'm Jerry McKee, and thank you for watching this special Prime Time with Jerry McKee.